Welcome to another podcast, Dreams to Reality. And today we have another very, very special guest all the way in Newcastle. Or is it Sunderland?
Sunderland.
I know the kind of rivalry there a little bit. All the way in Sunderland, we got Katie Cooke here. How are we doing today?
I'm really good, and thanks for inviting us on the podcast.
I got to ask you, right? we're getting to what you do, but when I asked you to come onto the podcast, you seemed quite shocked. Why is that?
I'm not sure. I'm very interested. And I've seen your podcast on Spotify and seen that you've had all these like really interesting people on, like some people I know, and I know how interesting they are and how much they've got to talk about. So when you emailed, I was like, thanks for the email. Who is it you want to boost for the podcast? No, it's you. Now it's like, okay, let's just go with it.
Do you do many podcasts or interviews?
I have done. And again, kind of the same response when anyone asks us. I'm like, are you sure? Are you sure? Have you messaged the wrong person? But yeah. Hopefully it will be interesting.
Yeah, so I've been following you for a while now, and just one thing, and maybe this is why it was a shock, is I see you taking kind of steps every single day, or kind of just action. When I think of you, you're just action. You're doing stuff. You're moving forward. You're not talking about it. You're just doing it. And that's why I find your story and what you do is inspiring, not just from the entrepreneur kind of side of it, but also being a parent. Obviously, we had Heidi there. I've seen the stuff, what she's doing, which is amazing. Like I look at it and go, it's inspiring. I think it would be good for so many other parents to see it too, right? How you're balancing everything. But for everybody who don't know who you are, what is your elevator pitch, if there was one?
Goodness me, I don't have an elevator pitch. So I guess a brief background is I've always worked in the fitness industry and started in the same way that I guess a lot of people do in fitness, teaching classes as a PT. Won a few cool awards over the years. I've been a previous UK Personal Trainer of the Year. Worked with some great brands, some great clients, and fast forward to the present day, my Instagram bio says I make the cogs turn behind high-profile digital fitness plans. So the layman's terms version of that is if you ever see a celebrity or a sports personality bring out a fitness product, I'm not saying that it's always going to be me behind it or us behind it, but there's a good chance that it will be. We bring their ideas to life and then run those platforms.
Amazing. So talk to me quickly about the personal training. How did it come about that you won that award? And when was that?
That was in 2012, and somebody nominated us.
That's amazing.
And I was kind of similar reaction to when you asked us to come on this podcast. I was like, have you made a typing error? And you just had to submit like your information, what you'd done as a business, as a trainer, who you'd helped, how you developed, all that kind of thing. And on the night of the awards, I went with my mum, and you could sit wherever you wanted. Like, where do you want to sit? And I went, I'll just take those two seats at the back. And my mum said, win. It's going to take ages to get to the front. I went, no, we're not here for the win. We're here for the nice time. And it did take us. The song ran out. You know, they play a song when someone wins the award. The song ran out by the time I'd got to the front.
So it was a big shock then. So how long have you been kind of personal training until that moment?
So fitness is all I've ever done. I started my first business when I was 16, 17.
Wow.
Just hiring community centres and teaching classes. So that was from that age. And then qualified as a PT when I was 21. And so won that award. I mean, maths is horrendous. I'd been doing it for about 5 years.
So let's go back a little bit. Just when you were, say, 16, always into fitness, Why was you always into fitness? Was you into fitness because of social pressures? Was you into fitness because your parents are doing it? And I also want to touch on, how hardworking your daughter is now, and where do you think that comes from, right? Because as I've mentioned before, I work with a lot of teenagers and a lot of kids, and everybody gets motivated from different things. But one thing is for sure, there's a lot of pressure, especially with social media and things what come with that as well. Why was you so into fitness when you was a teenager?
And my love of fitness started way before that. So from being about 4 or 5, like my mum's always been a fitness instructor on like the side of her day job. So her and my dad split up when I was 4 or 5, and she didn't always have, if she wanted to go out and teach classes on a night, she didn't have any choice but to take me with her. Because my dad used to work away in Scotland as well. So I just grew up around it, and we're going back to the days when there was no social media and people did exercise as much for their just feel good and their general well-being as they did for anything else. It wasn't about booty gains back then. It was about just about having a good time, the social aspect, keeping fit. And it was way back in the days of the thong back leotard and the Mr. Motivator vibes. And I just used to watch my mum, and I thought, what a brilliant job. What a brilliant job. She loved it. People loved her. And for me, there was nothing else I wanted to do. Like, just nothing else got on my radar.
Do you think that's similar to your daughter as well, being around you? Do you think she kind of looks at you a similar way that you looked at your mother?
I'd like to think so, because the way I look at my mum, I feel like my mum would never say this about herself, but she is the most hardworking, strongest woman I know. I've told her a million times that she should write a book, because her life has just been, she's had a lot of hard knocks. She's had a lot of things not go her way, and a lot of opportunities for her to give up. And she never did. She's an absolute grafter.
Yeah.
A perfectionist, just hardworking. And everything that she's gotten, she's achieved, she had to work for herself. Nothing's ever been handed to her. So I do hope, I like to think that Heidi looks at me in the same way. Heidi's different to me in that I wish I had the confidence back when I was 10 that she has now. Like, she's just go in front of a camera. She's started her own little business selling girls football merch, and she'll get on the camera and talk about her products. And
do you push her to do much of that, or is it just everything she wants to do?
No, it's everything she wants to do. For a while, she knew she wanted to do like a little business. I mean, she's done the classic things, wash cars, etc., but she wanted to do something. And so between us, really during lockdown, when we were going out for a walk, we would talk about, well, what will that product be? And she came up with a few ideas, and I'd talk her through like the implications of doing clothing and holding stock, and the cost of the item, and how much can you mark it up, and just trying to share these little things.
10 years old, bro, that information there is unreal.
So just gradually we came to the idea of, right, what are you into? Who follows you on Instagram? What could you make that doesn't require you to hold stock in every size? And it's got a good margin on it. And she came up with these little pouches that you put all your gear in for your football bag.
That's amazing. So quickly talk to me. So obviously you run a business now. What does your husband do?
He works for himself as well. He is a plumber and heating engineer.
So he works for himself as well. So complete kind of business-driven household, which is amazing. What made you want to take the shift from not just being a personal trainer anymore? Because obviously you've had good success being a personal trainer, so you could probably continue that journey. Why did you want to go and do something else?
Couple of reasons. I'd set myself some goals of what I wanted to achieve in that industry, and I ticked all the big ones off. I'm always somebody that likes to be working towards something. I don't like standing still. So that was part of it. But the other big part was the business model. The traditional personal trainer business model isn't that hot. So you've only got however many hours in the week. You're extremely.
How do you scale up from there? How do you not burn out? And as I said to you, that was kind of, we're growing obviously my business now. My first kind of step is to get a PA on board. She started on the first Monday of this year, but then it had to get postponed because she's got young kids at home, so she had to homeschool. And now we're bringing on other speakers and coaches for teenagers too. But it's about scaling up, isn't it? And as I said, I was booked for about 2 months and lost it all because I am the business, which isn't really a business. So that's when you created. Am I saying it right? Is it Power?
So with my friend Kev, it's really the work I do now is born out of wanting to scale in fitness. And also really wanting people who buy a product that's endorsed by or created by somebody with influence. I really want those products to be good. I can't control all of those products that are out there, but the ones that I want people to have genuinely good fitness plans to follow, genuinely good nutrition advice that's really going to get them results.
Why is that important when their name could probably just sell anything anyway? Why is it important for you to make sure that what they do sell is full of value and impact, really? Why is that important?
Because I think ultimately it's because I care about like the end user. I care about that end user as much as I'd have cared about a PT client. I think if somebody has the enthusiasm and the internal motivation to want to do something and change something about their life, and they're then going to go and purchase a product or a service to help them do that, whether they buy it directly from me or somebody else, I just believe that product should be good.
Yeah, got you. So what was the first step of creating this brand and your business? Because now you've got many different influencers on board, some really inspiring people. Obviously now you've built up such a solid brand and people come to you. But how do you first get somebody to trust you? Like, I know what I'm doing. Give me a chance. How do you go about that?
It was honestly at the start, it's not the easiest thing to do because people who've got a platform and a level of influence, they're getting offered to do things all the time. And they're having people come to them all the time with like these great ideas. And I think really the majority of it has been based on good relationships and track record of like myself and Kev have had always a good track record in fitness. So we had that. But really just good relationships. And I'm a big believer in just coming across as like a sound human, just be normal, just say this and this is the idea we've got, this is what I think it could do. Luckily there were people that were willing to take a chance on us and they could see the potential there, and then that opened the door to be able to talk to other people.
So how long you been on this mission now with Power?
I've been writing, like I ghostwrite the plans and creating them for about 2.5 years now.
Wow.
I've been doing that sort of work for brands and stuff. So it's the work in its nature is not new, but the working with people with influence or talent, that is relatively new, I suppose.
Do you have to bring it all together as well? So then you've got obviously the person, you have to bring the film guys, you've got to make sure it's all perfect. Is there a lot of organizing on film day because you can't miss a beat, I guess?
No, so there's loads of organizing, and organizing is the main thing, and it's one of my favorite things to do. So it's everything. It's all the it's all the pre-production. It's on the day, because as well you've got to remember that you haven't got that person for very long. You've got that day. So you need to turn up on the day knowing exactly what you need to capture, how you're going to capture it. They need to be aware of it and prepped. So it's all pretty like on the day, like bang, 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 bang. But organisation is everything. But I'm a bit of a control freak, so that sits quite well with my personality.
You don't have to name anybody, but what was one of your biggest hiccups on a day? Have you ever had any kind of major hiccups when you're like, oh no? And what did you learn from it, most importantly?
I would say on the day, oh goodness me, touch some wood. Hiccups on the day hasn't, no, I'm just trying to rewind. No, hasn't happened. But hiccups in the lead up. So this might not seem like a big thing. And this was only recent, actually. This was just before Christmas. We were doing a shoot, and the photographer who we were going to use, we used a freelance photographer, he messaged on the morning to say that he had to have an emergency procedure in hospital. So this was the morning that we were traveling down, and it was the day before the shoot. Okay. And I was like, oh. But honestly, the biggest lesson is don't panic.
Yeah, I got you.
Because I feel like I say this saying a lot. There's always a way. There is always a way. And then the crew, they were going, what about the photographer, like what we're going to do? And I was like, we'll find a way. I mean, inside, my stomach's churning like mad, because we've got the talent booked, studio, hair, makeup, we're all on the way down there, hotels booked, a lot. But there is always a way. And like by 2 o'clock, we'd worked it out.
I love that concept. There is always a way, because even with the teenagers I work with, they're one kind of track minded. I need to get my grades to ensure that I can go and do this, or I can go and do that. But there's so many different ways around things. How do you create that kind of mindset, or how did you create that mindset that there is always a way? Because some people think there's only one way, and a setback or failure is the end of the world. When I kind of say to myself is, okay, do you know what? I might doubt myself on a day-to-day basis, but I never doubt the end goal, because I know whatever happens, I'm still going to get there. It might look a bit ugly, but I'm going to get there some way or somehow, right? How do you create that type of mindset? Or how do you create that mindset where, okay, relax, there's always different ways we can go about it?
I think it's through like repetition.
Okay.
So for me, I know that my thought process like that definitely comes from my mum. 100% comes from my mum. And the amount of times I've seen her pick herself up, dust herself off, and go again and find a way to solve problems. That's been my repetition. Yeah. So I know that if you just keep trying, or you try and do something a different way, it will happen, because I've watched her do it. If that hasn't been, I think if somebody hasn't had that sort of influence in their life, you've just got to try it yourself a couple of times. And it's maybe a bit of self-talk to do it the first couple of times in the first couple of scenarios. See that there is another way, and then use that same process again in other scenarios that pop up, if that makes sense.
So it's kind of like training. It is training. And
I don't think it's the sort of thing that, I don't think that mindset comes overnight. And I don't think it's the sort of thing where you can read a book on it and think, right, from now on, I believe there is always a way, because you can say you believe it, but we don't believe it. It's just practice over and over and over.
And I guess it's just, it's just about being, a person of your word as well, and just trying, and eventually it will build that resilience as well. And I think it's about just understanding that what's that one saying, how you do one thing is how you do everything type of thing. And that was kind of a massive learning experience for me, because I would go out into these schools, talk to thousands of kids, feel amazing, but then I'm tired because I've been driving all day, come home and be an absolute idiot at home, be a grumpy git. And it's like, actually, I'm getting it all wrong.
Yeah.
Right? I'm fake in a way. So it's like I had to get how I do one thing is how I do everything. And I think that kind of repetition is so important, because we don't fall back on our level of expectations. We fall back on our training, don't we, really? So you're around quite a lot of different inspiring people. When you're in the moment, when you're probably in your zone on shoot day, you got to get everything together. How do you feel when you kind of leave that zone? How do you feel when you kind of get out, you've done all your filming, you've had the talent come in, everybody's a wrap, it's a success? Is that the start of something, or is it like, okay, I can relax now? Or is that literally just the start?
It's probably like halfway through the process. So
Okay.
I still feel very much in the process in terms of start to finish. But like, if you ask us on at the end of a shoot day, how do you feel, Katie? I go, I'm exhausted. And I'm sometimes mentally exhausted. So after a shoot, I often get like a big headache, and I call it like an adrenaline come down. I bet you've had that from doing all your speaking events. I think you rev yourself up so much to a certain point, and then after that, you just like crash, and you get this sense of adrenaline like that just leaves your body, and you just want to eat Krispy Kreme donuts at the service station on the way home.
I've been there. I love the Oreo milkshakes on Burger King nearly at every single service station. Oh, they're my thing. I'm gonna ask you the question. We can always cut out if not. But one of the people on your roster is Wayne Bridge, who I find unbelievably inspiring. Right, more not just because of his football career, but actually when he was on different TV shows. And things like that. How is it being around these different talented people? Is it inspiring for yourself? Is it just normal now? What do you what have you learned in that process? Because I don't know whether it's true or not, but when I look at Wayne Bridge, I think he's a true professional in his manner, the way he carries himself, everything like that. How is that?
I've been so lucky to work with so many different people, and when I did Wayne's shoot, he's the fittest person I've ever come across, by the way.
I seen him on the SAS there wins, and he's a machine.
Super professional, amazing technique, super fit, right up for the graft of a shoot day, because filming fitness is a really hard day. He would just go exercise after exercise after exercise, just be like, what's next? Just a brilliant, like,
and go to the gym after as well. All right, I'm off to the gym now.
An athlete. He was great to film, great to meet, and just a brilliant athlete.
Do you get inspired? Do you get inspired by these talented people, these celebrities? Do you get inspired? What inspires you? Apart from your daughter, because I look at her work rate and think, wow.
I'm not sure. That's quite a big question to me. That I think I tend to find little pockets of inspiration in everything.
Got you.
Like before I did this podcast today with you, I was just on the phone to somebody that we work with, who is just like inspiring in that she's lost loads of weight. I don't think anybody can look at somebody who's lost a lot of weight and not be inspired and think good on you. So things like that inspire me. Seeing people like achieve big things like climbing a mountain and stuff inspires us, but then small things do as well. Like I'll watch Heidi go in the garden with a football and practice a new skill until she can get it, and that's inspiring.
Yeah, because there's a mindset there, right? There's a difference of going out and taking 100 shots. There's a difference between taking 100 shots and scoring 100 goals, right? Or if you're shooting in basketball, okay, tonight I'm going to go and take 100 shots, but actually it would take a lot longer to get 100 in. It's that kind of mindset and that training. And do you set goals and stuff at the start of the year? Do you plan your intentions? What do you do as far as goal setting and stuff like that?
I'm really good with a short-term goal.
What's the short-term goal? How short?
Month to month.
Okay, got you.
or even sometimes day to day. So like planner, I've always got a planner. Yeah, short term works for me. I'm not one of these people that can say I'm going to do this time next year, because I will lose focus on it. I need to break that. Right down. So I set, like, I guess the goals that anybody should in a business, like revenue related goals and things like that, the normal ones. But I think that's about it. I've been asked that question a couple of times, and I always feel like I should have a better answer.
No, I think, but it comes back down to what's more important in goals is probably your day-to-day habits and routines. The goal is irrelevant if you can't do the day-to-day or execute on a small level, I think. So what you do
forward is
that again, sorry.
As long as you're always moving forward is the main thing. But equally, I think it's also all right to have times where you stand still and like look back at where you came from. I think we can sometimes all become too guilty of spending so much time looking forward and focused on the things that we are yet to achieve in this big void, that if you focus on that all the time, sometimes it can make you feel like an underachiever because you haven't done it yet. There's a lot to be said for like standing still, reflecting, and that is inspiring. Like, look how far I came last month, last quarter, last year. And it is okay to be satisfied with what you've got.
Yeah, I think, 100%. Smell the roses, essentially. And sometimes we have to be able to look back to measure it as well, to then figure out what direction we're going in. Because if we don't look back and we don't reflect, not just as successes, maybe things what didn't go so well, then we can start to plan and move forward on what we should be doing or what we could be doing. Do you just do all just fitness programs and stuff like that, or do you work as kind of like agents as well for some of the talents you got on board?
We do a little bit of agent type work, but predominantly it's all focused around creating the digital products. We do project work as well. So sometimes someone will come to us and say, can you do what you've done for whoever you work with? Can you do that for us? And it might not be a household name, so to speak. But pretty much that's it.
So quick question, right? If you've got all these different talents and celebrities in the same kind of field, in the same market, are they not competition?
Oh, no, definitely not. And never, ever go. Well, because of Instagram now, you can say learn so much about different people's audiences. So everybody's got their own fan base.
Got you.
So yeah, you've already segmented in that sense. I try and avoid working with people that are too close together, if that makes sense, because we don't want any divide. But ultimately, even if you did work with two people that were really, really similar in a similar field, or maybe they played the same sport, they'd have their own fan bases, and they're the people that are going to be like motivated to do the plan of that person.
Do you ever get nervous and anxious? So why I ask you, I seen you recently on live doing a workout with somebody from Only Way is Essex. And obviously there's lots of people watching. Do you get nervous before that? Because I know I would.
I get nervous for everything. Absolutely everything. I got nervous for doing this. I get nervous for everything. Yeah. And then I know which one you're talking about. So I've done a few lives with Amber. And it's a great experience because you get to meet people that you've never met before, and you get to train people that you've never trained before. But I get really, really nervous.
You're putting yourself out there, aren't you? You're putting yourself out there. And when you put yourself out there, yes, you could be applauded, but you can also be criticized too. So it's like,
100%. And like, I think I get more nervous now than I used to. But like, so after doing The Apprentice, I know that was my first experience of
Wait, what? You did The Apprentice? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, The Apprentice in 2014. Was it 2014? Yeah. So that was my first experience of like really putting yourself out there, where people could be like, oh my God, that Katie's accent really grates on me.
How long did you last? Did you win?
No, week 10 of 12, so not bad. But
Is The Apprentice harder than it looks? Because when you watch it, you're like, why can't you just make that decision?
oh, don't even like. It's so much harder. It's so much harder than it.
Really?
Because of course you would just go on Google, wouldn't you? Nobody from like the year 2000 onwards is picking up the yellow pages.
That's
Of
true.
course, you would just Google it. And the biggest thing that is hard about that is you're asked to make decisions in like 15, 20 minutes that in real life you would take weeks to
Got
make.
you. Okay.
So that's why we all look like basic idiots. But that experience was my first time of like putting myself out there and being criticized and being
How did you take that? How was that? Did you look into it? Did you like scroll Twitter on purpose just because you've been on? No, because I guess they actually film it, don't they? And then you watch it back whenever they release it. So
yeah, I did read stuff, and it wasn't nice to read. I mean, I think I'm a fairly resilient character, but it's not nice to read. Like, listen, I know I've got a prominent nose. I don't need Mr. Whoever on Twitter to tell me that I've got a big nose. Like, I'm aware of my face, but it's still not nice to read.
So you got attacked, not attacked, but people mentioned how you looked.
Yeah. And that was like just one or two about the nose. But predominantly it was my accent.
Wow.
It was my accent constantly. But this is my accent. This is who I am.
Change it.
I can't change it. I'm not going to change it. I'm proud of where I'm from. This is what I sound like. If you don't like it.
Yeah. Did that show open up many opportunities for you?
Yeah, it made a significant change to my life. Yeah, it did. Got into doing things like speaking and events and things like that. I think
and the Incredible Dreams to Reality podcast, even though I didn't know you was on The Apprentice.
Here I am. Yeah, I mean, it's a long time ago. It's a long time ago. It was like 2014. So
if there's kind of any lesson you could pass on, because actually, before I get onto that question, you said you get nervous, you said you get anxious, even probably more now, but you still go through with it. How do you still take those steps, and why do you still go through with it when other people will probably be more kind of resistant to it?
Couple of things. I think from experience, I know that if you do the things that make you feel super nervous and super anxious, the outcome of that is well worth it in most cases. So experience. But I once read this quote, and it was something to do with the people who are willing to do the things that most people are not. You might be familiar with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are willing to.
We just make it up. Yeah, I know it. That's perfect. Yes, yeah, I get it.
Well, that I kind of remind myself of that, and I also a lot of my nerves and things I think come from thinking, goodness me, Katie, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's such and such. And sometimes I'll put people on pedestals and stuff, and I just remind myself that like everybody's the same. Everybody, and I always say this is everybody goes to the toilet the same. So
it's true.
No, but just because somebody's been on telly or somebody's done it doesn't make them any different. We're all just people. So just go on, crack on, have a try. What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work out. Dust yourself off.
That's probably why you've been so successful at what you're doing, especially when you're communicating with many of these celebrities, because you don't put them on a pedestal. You talk to them like they're normal people, because they are normal people. Because you can be a big, on a TV show, or you can do something amazing on one day. Say Anthony Joshua fighting in front of 80,000 people or whatever it is. He still go home and has to shut the door and lie in bed, and there's nobody around him or whatever. He's still on his own. So when you're on your own, that's when you do all the thinking, and you're a human, you're normal.
Yeah, we're all the same. All the same.
So if you could pass any kind of message or lesson to any kind of, not teenager, but any child, what would be one lesson, or what do you say to Heidi? What is one thing you encourage and you want to push and promote and just wish that more young people did it?
Yeah, I would just say back yourself. like, and anything's possible. Just back yourself, because the world we live in now, there's often, you could go through your whole life without anybody else backing you. And if you always wait for somebody else to back you and to say, go on you go and do that, you could be waiting forever.
Does that day ever really come though? That when
But
somebody comes and just backs you?
I think it's rare. I think
Mm.
it's rare. Like, I'm really lucky. I've got really supportive parents. I've got a really supportive husband who'll always back me. But I have to back myself as well.
Mm.
You can't rely on other people. If you want something, you have to go and get it. And everybody is capable. Like,
Mm.
every single person. Look at some of the most success, what people would term the most successful, and it depends what your definition of success is. People in the world, like your Richard Bransons, your Duncan Bannatynes, like, they are no different to me, you, whoever. They're just differences. Like, they've just gone for it. Like, they've backed themselves to go and do it.
What most people don't understand is most people around also don't really care. Everyone, once again, is just so concerned about their challenges, their problems, and what they're going through. So you taking a big leap or going to start something, or it might not even work, most people don't really care too much. So just go and do it, back yourself, and make it happen. But let me ask you, what's next for Katie? What's next?
Oh, well, just more of the same, I guess, which doesn't sound like very specific, but yeah, more of the same. I want to work with, I've got some new people that we're going to be working with this year, bringing out some new fitness products, which is exciting. Yeah, just more of
Have
the
you
same.
have you had to turn down work? So even if it could lead to good money or whatever, it wasn't kind of on brand. It didn't sit right with you. Have you ever turned down work?
Yeah, and I particularly shy away from, in my industry, anything that's quick fix orientated. So of course people want to get results in a pretty short time frame. That's just the way we are as humans. So you've got to be able to deliver that. But anything that's remotely quick fix, I
So
just
does
say,
it, because you've got some great values in place, when you do see celebrities promote products which isn't healthy, how does that make you feel? Because you're obviously working with many celebrities who are creating good products and stuff, and you probably know some of these people are promoting stuff and they've got a young audience. I know I struggle with it, but how does that make you feel? And I guess that's probably why you do what you do, right? One of the main reasons.
yeah, it does make me toes curl a little. And I tend to just, if I see it, I think, right, I just need to unfollow that, because
Mm,
if I see it constantly, I get myself like chewed up inside about it,
yeah.
mostly because I can't control it, and I can't change it, because that person's already made that decision and that's already happening. But I just tend to try and block it and think, well, what positive changes, what positive things can I do that will have a good impact if I can't change that?
Okay. Last question. If you could work with any one person, what one person would that be?
Easy question. Easy answer. Tyson Fury.
Tyson Fury. Why?
I think, well, number one, he's got a great personality,
Mm,
and a great fan base that love him. But the biggest reason, I guess, is that it's just everything he's done, what he's overcome, that weight loss, that how he's worked on his mental health and his mindset. And I love the fact that he doesn't shy away from that either. Like, he shares it with people and like tries to use it for good. I just think he's a brilliant character. I love that thing that he did. I think it was on ITV, that series.
yeah, we watched that. That was amazing.
And I kept saying to my husband, he is just fantastic. Like, just a fantastic person. And he very much backs himself.
But you also have to think Tyson Fury did come through the storm as well, because he wasn't liked. The British, like, people didn't like him. They thought he was arrogant, he was this and he was that. And now he's come out as like this people's champ, essentially. But the thing is, he hasn't really changed. He stayed true to himself and backed himself. And obviously, yeah, people have started giving him the time of day which he deserves. I also think, you know, if him and Anthony Joshua get it on, I think that would be so amazing. I just want everyone to back the whole fight, not just each one fighter. And, you know, you got people who are Fury fans who like Anthony Joshua is this and that. It's like, why are you so serious? Just enjoy what's about to go on.
It's going to be the best build-up ever, that fight.
Oh, and I hope it, you know, I do think that Fury is a better boxer. I hope it's just not one-sided. I hope it's a good scrap and, you know, we can have 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah. I think it'll be a great fight. I think my money's on Tyson Fury.
Even though I'm more actually of Anthony Joshua fan, but I do then think that, you know, whoever's on the floor, like wrestling back in the day, I think Tony Bellew should come in with, you know, cash in the bank, fight the person and raise both, you know, raise all of them. You know, imagine that. Imagine if boxing was a bit more like wrestling back in the day with Rock, Stone Cold. But I just think it's amazing. I think, you know, people, the UK boxing scene is flying, and it's just amazing to see it, and it's inspiring, I think, for so many different kind of young people as well. With that said, we don't have her on. What is Heidi's dream? What does she want to do?
She wants to be a professional footballer.
Okay.
And a pundit on Sky.
Okay.
She's being very inspired by Alex Scott.
Alex Scott? Who's Alex Scott?
Well, Alex Scott is a former Lioness, and she's played for Arsenal.
Okay.
And she is on the punditry panel on the football. And now there are more females in that setting, but she is like one of them that's definitely leading the way. So yeah, that's what Heidi wants to do. She wants to be a professional, and she's on the right path. If she works hard, she's got the right internal motivation, she's got the right coaches. So there's no reason why not.
There you go. All right then, guys. Thank you, Katie, for joining me on this podcast. I'm going to press stop to record in a second, but I will put all the links for Katie's profiles, Instagram, what she's up to as well, and all the descriptions. But remember, guys, you've got 2 choices. You can either have excuses or you can have results, but you cannot have both. I'm out. Bye-bye.